and welcome to the Nashua Athletics Hall of Fame Class of 2020 virtual induction. After nearly 20 years in hiatus, the Hall of Fame was resurrected in 2018. We were originally scheduled to host this induction last May, but due to the pandemic, that event was postponed. After a second postponement, the decision was made to host this virtual induction ceremony to honor our 11 deserving inductees. I would like to thank the members of the committee who have been on this journey from the beginning and will continue to be as we move forward after this induction to the next group of nominees. Mrs. Karen Burnett, Principal Nate Burns, Mr. Tom King, Coach Scott Knight, Coach Dante Lorendi, Mr. Ed Leicius, Coach Nate Mazarol, Mrs. Ashley Payette, Principal Keith Richard, and Mr. George Tebbets. This virtual induction video was recorded and produced by the very talented North and South students in our video production classes. Words cannot express the appreciation we have to instructors Jeff Leone and Doug Beals and all of the students involved in this project. The purpose of the Nashua Athletics Hall of Fame is to recognize and honor those Nashua High School athletes, coaches, teams, administrators, and special contributors who made exceptional contributions in their respective sports or coaching or support roles, and who helped to bring honor, recognition, distinction, and excellence to Nashua athletics by their conduct both on and off the playing surface of competition. The individuals honored have continued to demonstrate the values and skills imparted by high school interscholastic athletics long after graduation. The Nashua Athletics Hall of Fame is a continuation of the Hall of Fame of Nashua Senior High School from 1991 to 2000. This Hall of Fame will recognize individuals from any one of the Nashua's public high schools. Nashua Senior High School, which closed in June of 2004, Nashua High School North, and Nashua High School South, which both opened that fall. From 1991 to 2000, there were 107 individuals inducted into the Nashua Athletics Hall of Fame. Today, we will induct 11 more. Throughout this video today, you will see photos and names of the 107 current members. You will also see short interviews with each of our 11 new inductees. The full-length videos are available separately for anyone who wishes to view them in their entirety. I would like to thank coaches Jason Roby and Nate Mazarol for conducting the interviews with our very deserving Class of 2020 Hall of Fame inductees. The Nashua Athletics Hall of Fame is honored to induct its Class of 2020. Contributor, Mr. Al Savage. Contributor and student athlete, Mr. Farley Gates. We have 8 student athletes: Kolea Yee, Laura Garrity Ekstrand, Trevor Knight, Kendall Reyes, Amy Rustin, John Schroeder, and Brad Zapenis. We are also inducting student athlete Mark Russell posthumously. His interview was conducted with his children. We are also inducting Coach Bob DeMello posthumously. His interview was conducted with his wife, Kathy.
I am joined here today by Brad Zapenis.
Thank you so much for having me, Coach Roby. I really appreciate you doing this. Obviously, my thanks to the committee as well, Lisa Gingras for bringing this back, Coach Mazarol. This is special. This is awesome. So I really appreciate it, and glad to be part of this.
That's great, Brad. It's great to see you again. I know you do some refereeing locally in the high school level, college level, things of that nature. But where are you now professionally? What are you doing with yourself now that baseball is no longer the job? And what does the day find Brad Zapenis?
So after I got with the Cubs in 2014, I didn't really know where to go. I didn't really have much of a working background. Never really did any internships because of baseball, and ended up just kind of in the right place at the right time. I emailed the manager over at 98.5 The Sports Hub, and 7 years later, I'm still there. I'm doing sales. It's a great team. Still working in sports, which is great, and been a great job. So I'm happy to be there still, and so.
What does being inducted into the Nashua High Hall of Fame mean to you?
When Lisa brought this back, it was, I honestly didn't even really know it existed. But I love learning about the history of Nashua. I think I've mentioned to you, I love going on and looking at old videotapes and old videos and just learning about the history and there's so much history in Nashua, and there's so much to be celebrated. So when I look back at who was inducted in the past, and I look at, who's to come, it's so special to kind of bring the past, present, and future together. So to me, this was kind of a culmination of not just me, but my entire family and Nashua athletics as a whole. Obviously, I'm fortunate to have an older brother and sister that have been kind of through it all and have done it. And my brother coming through Nashua High as a Panther and then going on to play college baseball. My sister, cheerleading at Nashua High, and then being back and coaching and teaching while I was at Nashua North. Obviously my dad's involvement growing up.
When you look back, is there a moment that you were most proud of? Is there a team or a moment that you were most proud of during your competitive days?
There's a few, and I'd like to go kind of just year by year very quickly, but I think the most overall thing I'm most proud of is just being that first to wear the tie. I wear my light blue today because I'm just so proud of, it's my favorite color, but yeah. And, just being so proud to kind of be the first to start that new tradition, build it from the ground up. And it never existed before. Everything went to Nashua South with the Panthers, all the history. So we had to kind of put Nashua North on the map. We had to build programs. We had to set standards. So looking back and being able to kind of do what we did there, that's overall, that's what I'm most proud of. It's what I'll remember the most.
Is there another player that you played with that you kind of maybe looked up to as you were coming through the ranks as a high school student, someone that maybe, was a senior or a junior ahead of you that you looked to for guidance while you were playing?
Yeah, so it was funny because Kevin Nolan, who I'm sure will be inducted, sooner than later. He was at Elm Street playing for Coach Dishard when I was coming up, and everyone was saying how Kevin Nolan is awesome. Great shortstop, and he went on to play at varsity when ninth grade was able to play at the varsity level for the combined high school at the time. So I think it was just such an opportunity for me because it all worked out perfect where he was at ninth grade already playing up. So Coach Dishard actually gave me the first opportunity to play shortstop at Elm Street. Kind of turned me into a shortstop after just pitching and catching, in Cal Ripken League. So Kevin had gone up and I'd watched him. I've seen him play. He was playing basketball as well at the time. And I just enjoyed watching him. Just a nice, really nice person, high character. And so the split actually really helped me because, he went on to Nashua South to play and I went on to Nashua North. And if it wasn't for that split, who knows if I would have gotten the opportunity to go start right away, play shortstop. So, but really tried to be like him, wanted people to talk about me like the way they talked about him at the time. And then obviously that rivalry is just that Nashua South, Nashua North rivalry. It's nothing better than that. So, but then he obviously went on and get drafted by the Blue Jays. And then I went on to Winthrop College, and then I wanted to play Division I baseball like him. And then he got drafted by the Blue Jays, and then I wanted to follow that same footstep. So, and then we ended up crossing paths at the Grant State baseball dinner. I was finally able to tell him, when it was my turn to speak up there, I was finally able to tell him, hey, I really enjoyed watching you play and trying to, kind of follow in your footsteps for Nashua. So,
where did you develop your work ethic? You're obviously a well-spoken young man. The work ethic that you brought to the practice field every day was unsurpassed. I mean, it was quite a thing to see, and as a result, that's why you had the success that you had. But where did you get that sense of pride in your work ethic and that drive and desire to be as good as you were?
I think having an older brother and sister made me really mature. They were a lot older than me. Karen's 9 years older than me, or almost 10. Craig's 11. So with them, it was they were out of the house, so I was living with my mom and dad, and then my freshman year, right going into high school, my dad had a stroke, and bad stroke, and he'd stopped working. My mom had never worked before, so my brother and sister actually both moved home to kind of support us financially. My sister, worked out a little bit better for her because she was teaching at North now, so we were right in the neighborhood right there, so it was close to my brother. came home and, paying bills for us and taking care of us. And my brother and sister both helping me with some of the baseball showcases I needed to go to. I was never kind of able to play AAU. So I played Legion, which I really enjoyed, and things like that. But, just kind of growing up fast and kind of being mature and knowing that I had to take care of those things off the field, that I didn't have time to mess up, at school, especially with my sister coaching and teaching there. I didn't have I couldn't go and make something bad in my name. There were a lot of sacrifice I had to make that night by staying home and while kids went to different parties and everything. And then certainly I wanted to go to, more and be more social and stuff. But I just kept telling myself, hey, you got to reach your goal of Division I baseball. You got to get there. And, a lot of people are giving you opportunities. So Coach Henderson gave me opportunity, and just can't screw it up, because I just don't want to look bad on them. I just kept saying that to myself. And I think obviously my family and my dad never really pushed me too much. He was always there for me as a coach and gave me advice, but not like these parents push some of their kids now. They kind of left it up to me to figure out, and kind of even in the classroom, I don't even think they helped me much with homework. It was always me that kind of figured out. I would go to them if I had a question, but it's I think getting that responsibility kind of helped me, kind of figure it out as I went and get strong for it.
So I guess I would ask, did your high school experiences prepare you for what was to come? I mean, or was it a culmination of what was happening at home and what was happening at school? I mean, was it a combination of those two things?
Yeah, I look back and I say, Coach Will Henderson was, all my coaches, but from baseball's kind of specific, is Coach Henderson. He was tough, but you could tell he cared and he knew the game, and he's like a brother to me. Him, Ricky Deshard. I'll mention a few other coaches, a little bit later on, but two guys that really kind of helped me prepare me for college baseball. And I was able to go to BC right away and play right away because I was just so mentally prepared from Coach Henderson and what he demanded of us. I'll tell you a quick story is he almost coached us like a college team. And quick story here is I was fielding fungos one day on the field outside Nashua North, fielding ground balls from him. He was hitting me ground balls, and there was a ball about 6 feet in front of me, in front of where I was at shortstop. So I went to go and move it, just to get it out of the way, and next thing you know, he calls me over. So I go running over, and he says, just start running around the school. I said, okay. So didn't know what he meant or what I did wrong, or finally calls me back over when I get around the school, and he says, do you know why I made you run? I said, no idea. He goes, that's not your job to go pick up that baseball. When you get to Division I, that's someone else's job. You focus on your job of fielding ground balls for me, and that's it. And at that point, I was like, wow. I was like, he coached us like a college team. And when I got to BC, my coach there was similar, Coach Ioki, just made me mentally tough. And I'm thankful for that now, looking back. In the heat of the moment, there were a lot of times I was like, oh, this is tough. But yeah, Coach Henderson was great. Like I said, he's a brother to me. He'd be coming to my wedding, and I wouldn't be where I am today without him. So, is
there a message you would like to give to young student athletes today? But I'm gonna include in that, is there a message you would like to give to the parents of young student athletes today? Because sometimes we get lost in the aspirations of becoming a Division I athlete or becoming a professional athlete. When the chances of that really happening, they're not always great, right? It's few and far between, and certainly your work ethic allowed you to get there, and your abilities allowed you to get there. But is there a message you'd want to give to anybody that's kind of following you right now in terms of their careers in high school and where that goes, and maybe a message for the parents of those kids?
Well, I used to speak at the athletic awareness nights a lot, and my message is always, you got to be, first and foremost, you got to be a great student to be a great athlete going at the next level, because it's going to prepare you. If you are focused in the classroom, and if you just show up and you just treat the teachers with respect, you treat your coaches with respect, you treat our officials with respect, that goes a long way. It goes a long way with teachers giving you the benefit of the doubt if you may need to leave early for a game. It goes a long way if the coach or even the official going a long way giving you a call sometimes, and we remember that stuff. And I think, I think with the parents and believe me, it's great to want everything for your student athlete, but they gotta kind of have it themselves. And, they'll see when they get to the next level, it's a totally different ball game than in high school. And then when you get to the professional level, it's a totally different ball game than it is in college. And you gotta want it yourself. And You got to learn to fail, and you got to learn to pick yourself up by yourself, and you got to learn to figure that out by yourself. You got to make changes by yourself, and you got to take criticism. You got to take constructive criticism from the coaches. You got to take yelling. That all helped me, you know, and I think it's different. I think it's a little bit different now than when I was in high school, but you know, that stuff is kind of what helped me. You know, and then like I was saying before to the kids, just enjoy every practice and every game, every day. Goes by too quick. So.
That's well said, well stated. And Brad, thank you very much for taking the time out of your day. Congratulations on being inducted into the Nashua Athletics Hall of Fame.
Today, I'm very fortunate to be here with Kathy DeMello, wife of famous, legendary Nashua coach Bob DeMello, and very good to see you. Kathy, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you. We're honored to be here.
Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to this. In coaching and former athletic circles, Coach DeMello was revered. What about his coaching style and success made him so beloved?
I think his coaching style was, of course, every coach coaches because they like to win.
Sure.
But especially at the high school level, I think he epitomized what I think a high school coach should be, and that is he was trying to make each individual be the best they could be. And he pushed that envelope. He pushed that envelope constantly. I saw some amazing stuff while he was coaching, and he cared about the kids. He embraced them. I do remember watching a track meet up at UNH, and there was an athlete who was on the track team who had some physical handicaps, and this athlete was in a back race, and he had to run. I don't even remember. Maybe it was a sprint. It was a short sprint, and they had practiced and practiced and practiced, and this athlete was challenged because of his disability. And I just remember Bob standing at the end of that run with his arms wide open to embrace this athlete as he came across the finish line. And that embraced who Bob was and what his coaching style was. He cared so deeply about all of his athletes.
What do you think inspired him to get into coaching?
As a high school student himself in Fitchburg, Massachusetts, he played football, and he had a football coach that seemed to be very inspirational for him. And we met and married in Illinois, and right from the get-go, he talked about this football coach, and he talked about his wanting to move back to the East Coast and to the Fitchburg area in particular. So for the life of me, I can't remember what his name was, but he was a football coach out of Fitchburg High School. And Bob never did get the opportunity to coach with him. He started coaching in Fitchburg, but at St. Bernard's. He was coaching football at St. Bernard's High School. But this man seemed to be his inspiration and his love of athletics.
Do you think did he have a best team that he talked about most, or a favorite moment, or a favorite team? We coaches, we're not allowed to have favorites, but sometimes certain teams stand out, or certain moments. You gave us that great anecdote about the embracing the student at the athlete at the end of the sprint at a UNH meet. Was there anything else you could think of that really stood out to Coach DeMello as a top moment or a favorite team or just a memory that really stood out to him?
You know, it was all consuming for
Yes.
both Pauline and Bob in the weeks before the heptathlon, and getting all the athletes seated and making sure the invitations were all up there and getting it all lined up. But I do remember a team coming down the night before the heptathlon was starting, and they were going to camp out on the inner field. And around midnight, a storm came up. And it was just pouring rain, and Bob and I discussed about what we were going to do, and Bob said, well, I've got to get down there and see if they're all okay. I said, just bring them all back to the house. We'll just put them anywhere we can. He did get up, and he did go down to the field and make sure everything was all right, and they declined to come. They were fine. They were dry. But that was the kind of commitment he had, and the kind of commitment that we as a family supported him with.
We know it was all about his athletes, and it wasn't just about winning. We're all competitors, but how would you categorize his philosophy about coaching and how he approached each season?
Oh, well, you know, his philosophy goes back to what I've said previously. It's like if you as an athlete are coming to his team, you better be prepared to give 100% of yourself.
Yes.
Because he's prepared to give 100% of himself. And if you were giving any less than that, there was a lot of pressure on you to either step up to the plate or get off the team.
Okay.
And he had no problem in letting those students know that. And also letting them know that he was going to do everything he could, not only as a coach and getting them to the next level in their athletic career, but also helping them with college applications and sort of counseling them as their next steps. And there were many trips to many colleges with many athletes to talk about their continued athletic performance at those colleges if they were to be able to get in, and setting up those appointments with those college coaches. So, you know, his philosophy was just all in. He was going to do it. He was going to do the best he could. He was going to do the best he could for those students. And that was that.
What goals would Coach set for the team, and did they change from year to year? Obviously, when you're in a stretch of 10 state championships, the goals are pretty lofty. Did he ever go into a season thinking he had to lower the expectations or raise the bar, knowing either his team might not be successful, or we're going to be better at the end of the season, or we should be really good? How do we maintain that? How did he set his expectations for his team, and how did that affect his coaching style?
Well, there was never a season he went into to say, we may have a lesser team than we did last year. There was never that attitude.
Good.
It was always, all right, we're going to go into the season. Let me see this list of athletes. Let me understand who they are and what their potential is, and let me put them into those slots that I think they're going to do best. And so he would try that out. And if he saw during the early part of the seasons that those students were slotted into the wrong slots, he would make his adjustments. And again, that was going back to the individual athlete to see where they were going to perform the best, right? So I think that's the way he and Pauline both would look at it. And I think actually they were quite a team, and one without the other may not have been as successful, because they both had that same philosophy. Where is this athlete going to perform the best? And what adjustments do we have to make in order to help them? And then as a result, the team did better.
How did coaching affect Coach DeMello beyond the venue of sports?
Well, I mean, that was his life. That was all consuming.
Right.
I think beyond it, I think if you were to talk to his daughters, they'd say, well, he tried to instill that same discipline at home that he was trying to instill at the team level, in that pushed them to be the best they could be, and really wasn't very tolerant for them to be any less than the best that they could be. So I think it was just kind of his life philosophy.
What do you think Coach DeMello's message would be to athletes today?
I know I keep going back to the same thing. You can be. Otherwise, if you're not going to go out and give 100%, if you're going to go out and play around on the track field and not listen to what the coach is saying and not listen to what the team is saying and not be part of, not buy into the goal of the team, then don't come out. Don't come out for those kind of athletics. Go in 100%. And keep giving it, because you're going to get all of that back and more if you do that.
It's a great message, and it is so true. And finally, what would it mean to Coach DeMello to be inducted as a member of the class of 2020 in the Nashua Athletics Hall of Fame?
Well, just it's beyond words. We're all, as a family, just so honored that this happened. I sincerely wish that he could be here for it, or
As
that
do we.
it could have happened earlier.
Yes.
Because he just would have been so honored to have this, and we are all so honored and blessed to have his memory. And he's been gone. It'll be 20 years this May that he's been gone. And it just is astounding to me that we as a family continue to deal with these honors that are bestowed upon him because of what he did in his life all these years later. And it's not just all of a sudden, oh, it's 20 years later and here we are at the Nashua Hall of Fame. It's been ongoing. It's been ongoing through the years since he's gone. People early on, up to almost 10 years after he left, early on, we would run into people, even in Boston, and they'd say, oh, how's Coach DeMello? And when we would pass on the news, people would cry. People would actually cry that he was gone, and then tell us stories about how he impacted their life. So to have this happen, continuing through the years, and then having this as sort of the apex of it is just it's phenomenal to us, and he would be so honored and grateful.
Well, thank you, and clearly his impact was everlasting, and this is long overdue. So I just want to say congratulations to Coach, to you and your family. We're so happy that we were able to do this. We're so happy that we were able to honor Coach DeMello, class of 2020 Nashua Athletics Hall of Fame. Thank you, Kathy DeMello, wife of Coach DeMello, for joining us today. It's been an honor. It's been a pleasure. And stay safe. And one more time, congratulations to you and your family.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And take care.
Thank you.
Jason Roby here, and we are inducting members into the 2020 Nashua Athletics Hall of Fame. And I am joined here today by inductee John Schroeder. Tell me, John, what does being inducted into the Nashua Athletics Hall of Fame mean to you?
Yeah, it's such an honor. I'm always humbled when I see all the other people involved, like who are getting inducted. When I have, I've thought, first round NFL draft pick Kendall Reyes is right before me, and then Laura Garrity, who's won everything in sight and in track and field. So I'm just honored to be with everyone. It's a great recognition, I think, for myself and also for all of my coaches along the way. I'm sure they had a part in pushing for this. Art and Nate and Coach, I guess some of the coaches that were there, Coach Howard isn't there anymore, but
Sure.
I feel connected to them through that, and to my former teammates that brought me along. I mean, they can share in this honor because they helped me get there. Yeah, so it's a great, I feel like it's nice for me and a great recognition of everyone who contributed to my career in track.
Yeah, looking back, John, is there a team or an accomplishment that you are most proud of? It could be an individual thing and or a team thing that you accomplished when you were in high school.
Yeah. So teams. So first, it was great to have a taste of team success really early on. So we won the indoor and outdoor track titles when I was a freshman, and that, I mean, being a part of that team with just amazing athletes like Matt Valuk and Sheehan, just like really great people to look up to, who like kind of won the thing for us. But it was, I remember, I think they were pretty close, competitions, and I didn't even score a point, I think, in the first one, the indoor one, but I got like one little point in the outdoor one, and having a part of that, it was kind of a breakthrough race for me anyway. To like share in that team success is amazing. And then, so in those team wins, I think we were kind of favored, or at least really competitive with, say, it was probably Merrimack, who was really good back then. In cross country, I think when we got 5th in New England, coming out of nowhere in Wickham Park in my junior year. So Garrett Nelson, who is one of the smartest people I've ever met still, and I went to a good school. That guy is amazing. Like he fought a lot of injuries in high school and was incredibly talented, and then he ended up just leading the way all year. A bunch of people stepped up, and people like my brother, who isn't really a runner but is a better athlete than me, if I'm being honest, all contributed to like this just great win. This great, not team win, but team, like 5th place. I think we barely made New England, so I mean, don't quote me on this. I think we were 6th, which is barely qualifying for New England, and then it snows a bunch, and we're running in these tough conditions, and everyone just gave it their all and had a great day, and came out on, I don't know if you get an award, but it felt like winning that day. And then individual, like, those are all there. I had some great individual wins. They're like almost mostly equal, but definitely once I took a while to figure out cross country. So it was really when I won Class L's at Derryfield, that win, I just remember feeling amazing that day. I put in a lot of work over the summer, and it seemed, once I backed off mileage, to feeling unstoppable.
Yeah.
And just ran away from everyone.
Yeah.
That was an amazing feeling, and I carried that fitness into the winter. And then probably my best race was probably that state record run, where I just I'm not good at running solo, I think. Since then, I won the race by a lot. I just hammered from the gun, clicked off 64-second laps or whatever it was, or 800. It would have been 32 seconds, sorry. And I got that record by a lot. And someone just broke it, unfortunately, which is fine by me. Or needs progress. New Hampshire running needs progress, but that was really, those are definitely some quick highlights.
Who would you view as being the mentors that led you to where you are today?
So definitely it's primarily the coaches, Art Cobbs and Nate Burns. They were really the people who guided me along the way, being just, as I said, Art, just the ultimate motivator, get the most out of all of his athletes. Nate with his own style, being a really meticulous coach who you could plan out every workout, every rep, and really just being really thoughtful and a student of the sport, knowing exactly what you needed to do to get. And I think that gave both of those approaches gave us as athletes a lot of confidence to succeed, and they were just very, very good in us.
If you could go back, if John Schroeder could go back in time and talk to the freshman John Schroeder, what would you say to the freshman you right now? One piece of advice that you would give yourself.
Yeah, man, that's a tough one. Yeah, I'd say trust, like listen to everyone around you. Yeah, I guess if I'm going, it's almost like you don't want to mess up anything, but yeah, just I guess lean into what's working. Trust everyone around you. Stay out of trouble and just work hard, be diligent, and enjoy this time. That's one thing. You don't know when you're coming up. You don't realize this could be every time you run fast, that could be the fastest you run. Every time anything great happens, really anything in life that's great happens. That could be it. Running is like the success is fleeting in running. You don't know when you run your best race.
What would you say to the parents of today's student athletes?
Oh gosh, this is really tough. As a parent now, I'm feel like I'm really on the spot, and a parent of a young kid. Man, my parents did such a great job. I wish they could just be like my parents. That's what I'll say. So my parents were incredible because they were so supportive. And of all, like, we had 3 kids in our family. My mom and my dad would drive anywhere, all over the place for what we were interested in, and would support us. They got us. They didn't push us. So I always think about this. Now that I have a son, I'd like him to do sports. I definitely don't want to force him into any of that. So I feel like my parents, whether it was intentional or not, I'm not sure, but they got us all interested in being active and outside from a very young age. My parents, especially my dad, were always really into the outdoors. My dad was into cycling and rock climbing and hiking, and they introduced us to that. We played sports from a really young age, and they exposed us. But we didn't we were not obsessive about it. I think they let us grow that interest on our own, and they supported that and guided us. And I didn't feel like I was ever pushed. It felt like it was my own motivation. And I think that's that delicate approach of getting your children to be motivated to find their own success and enjoyment in their sport. As a parent of a 1-year-old, I feel
it's coming, John. It's coming.
I feel like I'm not qualified, but I know, and I know now sports are super specialized.
Yeah.
And there's probably a lot of pressure to go to every camp and all of that from a young age. Yeah, it seems so tough, but I would say just hopefully just give your children exposure to the really wonderful parts of sport and try to lay off the pressure as much as you can.
What would be your message to your fellow inductees?
Yeah, I certainly feel that way. I said earlier that these people being inducted are such incredible athletes. To my fellow inductees, I just say congratulations, everyone. It's an honor to be mentioned in the same sentences as you guys, to be in your company, and appreciate this moment and think of everyone who got you here, and how it's a celebration of everything that went into that work. Like, we kind of talked about that earlier, but I think it needs to be said again. I definitely feel like it's not just about my own success. I feel that everyone who had a part in this can share in that success.
I just want to thank you for joining us, congratulate you on becoming a member of the Nashua Athletics Hall of Fame class of 2020, and wish you all the best with your young family as you navigate through these waters of the pandemic and of being a dad, and all the wonderful things that lay ahead for you. Enjoy this moment, enjoy it with your fellow inductees, and thank you again, and congratulations.
My name is Nate Mazerol, and we're going to have an interview with Farley to talk about his incredible achievements. And welcome, Farley. Good to see you today.
Thank you, Nate. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome, and congratulations on a well-deserved, long overdue induction. As many of us know, it's been 20 years since we've done this, so this particular class of inductees certainly well-deserved, and you fit right in. So welcome, thanks for joining us today. Looking forward to talking to you. So we're just gonna go through some questions, and here's the first one. Pretty simple. What's your favorite moment as an athlete?
My favorite moment as an athlete was in 1980 when we won the state championship. Played with a great coach in Al Granite and George Nukas. Al Granite is in a lot of places considered the guy who brought the three-point shot to the game. And he allowed us to play a game, and with the talent that we had in the city, the foundation made by the Garekis brothers, Adam and John, and then followed up by Shrigley and Kruger during the late 80s. I was lucky enough to play with Frankie Anderson, Dave Vestito, Bobby Damaris, Tommy Kandra. We had a phenomenal team, a great group of guys, and that was the highest point of my athletic career.
Looking back on your high school career, what are you most proud of in terms of, you mentioned the team, but feel free to toot your own horn. How about individually?
It's such a team game. I wasn't able to play most of my senior year because of a broken foot. I was on crutches for about 9 months, so it kind of took the steam out of my senior year. But my sophomore and junior year, playing with those guys, it was a different game back then. And you know, I was a huge Larry Bird fan, Magic Johnson fan back in the time until he went to the Lakers.
Of course.
And I love the game with playing with Dave Vestito and Bobby Damaris and Tommy Kandra. I love to pass the ball, and we had such a great time during those things, during those games. I will tell you my most humbling moment is when I went to Clemson All-Star Camp down at Clemson University. Yep. And I was going to go there or Maryland. My mother was actually, her boyfriend was Lefty Drizel when she was a young kid.
What a great story. All right. I'm sure all the kids here know who Lefty Drizel is, sure.
No, they don't, but somebody will.
Yes.
So I went down to Clemson All-Star Camp thinking I was a pretty good player. I was about 13, 14 years old, and I went up against Thurl Bailey, Ralph Sampson, Cosell McQueen, and realized that I wasn't nearly as good as I thought I was.
Right.
And these guys were so big and so long that I had to figure out a different game. So I shouldn't tell everyone this, but every night at 11 o'clock, I'd sneak out of my dorm room and go down and shoot from about 11 till 3 in the morning, because we got up around 5. And I realized I had to play a different game. So I always hold on to that, and I explain that to kids, that even though you think that in your space you're as good as you are, always know there's somebody a little bit bigger, somebody a little bit stronger. And I'll later find that out in the holiday tournament game that we played against Ewing. So that kind of sticks with me. That kind of created the work ethic that I've had to have the rest of my life.
During your career, any regrets or disappointments that really stand out?
Not going further our senior year. I came back a little too early, so I re-broke my foot, so I had to have an operation. I guess I was a little stubborn-headed. I was a little disappointed about that.
Wait a minute, a guy who
and
went to shoot for 4 hours in the middle of the night was a little stubborn. I could see that. Strong-willed, yeah. I could see that.
So that was disappointing. And another disappointment was when I was at USF, we were #1 in the country for a few weeks. We beat, the Wichita State with Xavier McDaniel, some of those guys. We beat Dominique Wilkins and his team, Ricky Pierce and Rice. And we kind of struggled in our tournament because I think we got a little confident.
Okay.
And then we met Rick Strigley in Boston College.
Yep.
In the tournament, in the NCAA tournament in Dallas. And unfortunately for us, we lost to them, but I was happy for Rich because I think they went to the...
I think they were Elite 8 that year.
Elite 8,
I think
yes.
so.
I think that's where they went.
Yep.
So I was happy for Rich. I was disappointed for us because we had a lot of great players on that team. So that's a disappointment.
During your time in high school, was there one or maybe a couple mentors you really looked up to that stood out? And you could either talk of coaches, teachers, maybe when you were younger, you mentioned sophomore year playing, maybe some of the older players on the team. Any mentors that you'd like to speak about?
Well, as far as teachers go, I had a terrific teacher, Mr. Richards, who was my economics teacher. Although I had a lot of great teachers, Dr. Cody, my principal.
Yep.
But really, the whole environment that Mr. Staunches created in that school, it
One
was
of the
a very
nicest men ever.
ever.
One of the nicest.
Ever.
Still comes to basketball games.
Yes.
We're still one of our biggest fans.
Yeah, he's just a terrific human being, soft-spoken, understated,
Yes.
but not to be toyed with. He was also a very serious man.
Yeah.
He created an environment in that school when it was just Nashua High that was very unique. I've mentioned Coach Nukas. I've mentioned Coach Grennett. Coach Grennett was a terrific mentor. He understood the game. He let us play. And I really idolized a lot of the players that I played with. Frankie Anderson, I can't say enough about. I think he was a two-sport athlete. He was a coach he was a captain of the basketball and baseball team. He was a phenomenal student, which I respected so much. I think he went on to play at Amherst and was in the infield with Dan Duquette.
That's, again,
He's a
great
banker
story.
here in town. Yeah. So, and Dave Vestito, one of the best players ever to play Division II. I think he's the all-time leading rebounder from St. A's in Division II history. But we just had a great nucleus of people. Al Harrington and Frank Usikis did so much for this city in creating that tournament. And, they're just a carryover from what they saw from Buzz Harvey and how he changed athletics in Nashua completely.
Sure.
So there were a lot of people. I also, honestly, my parents were huge mentors to me. My father was at my parents were at everything. Even my sisters and brothers came to everything. So I was very lucky.
Why is it so important to you, as someone who played for Nashua High, to give back as much as you have for so many years? And one of your best phrases, or the phrase I remember most from you, is anything for the kids. And that resonates with me, and I think it will resonate with anyone listening today.
Well, Nate, I was given a great opportunity growing up in Nashua. I left Nashua for 10 years to see other parts of the country and other parts of the world. And I realized this is where I want to come back to. Nashua has given so much to me. How can I not give back to it? And to give back to the kids, these kids dedicate a lot of their time, give up their free time. I see it at Cal Ripken, which I'm heavily involved with. I was on to the guys this morning about it. And I just think it's important that we all give back to, my dad used to always say to me, charity starts at home.
It's a great line.
And if you're gonna do something, I care for these kids in this city. I want it to be as a good experience as they can possibly have. And honestly, I miss some of that engagement that I had with it.
Growing up, who were the positive influences athletically in your life that led to how successful you were as an athlete? And then, were there anyone, you had mentioned Mr. Staunchus, but someone who really stood out in terms of your father's great line, why you decided to contribute? Did you see, I know you spoke to this a little bit already, but I'm curious, you do so much. Was there someone who really stood out, you said, I want to be like that and I'm going to give back because of this individual?
Well, I saw what Frank Usikis does. I don't think he gets enough recognition what he did for so many years. Adam Garekis does, a lot of people do a lot of things, and it wasn't necessarily one person in particular. And maybe it's more the kids. I'll share a quick story with you without taking too long, but there was a young man that we coached in Cal Ripken, and he didn't have a strong father figure. And he was the first one there, and he was the last one to leave, and he's the one that would pick up the bases without being asked. When we had cleanup day, he was the kid that was there first and would leave last. Sometimes we'd bring him home, and we'd wait a little while to make sure he got home. And I remember one time we had a charity game. We had Team USA versus Team Latino. I don't know if you know Seth Marcone, his dad, Jose.
Yep.
Well, his dad wanted to create a little friendly competition. It was kind of our little Olympics. And so my son said to me, Dad, you've coached me for 6 years in baseball. I've never batted fourth. I want to bat fourth in this game. I said, I appreciate that, pal, but we're going to give that to John because you get all that time with me at home. Let's make sure this is John's moment. So that's kind of the reasons why I do it, because not everyone has the same opportunities that I did or other people I know do. So it's really about giving back to those kids who don't quite have as much as everybody else.
What message would you give today's athlete?
It's very simple. Really work at your education. You have God-given talents, and you can explore and work at the athletic prowess that you have. Be it one sport, multiple sport. Enjoy those times, work hard at it, but don't underestimate how important your education is. It is the foundation that's going to sit with you the rest of your life.
Thank you. That is a perfect message, and I really appreciate that. And again, coming from one of the most humble people I know, so greatly appreciated. Last question for you. What does it mean to you to be an inductee in the Nashua Athletics Hall of Fame?
It's a great honor. I'm glad to be with a lot of people that I know very well. I'm super excited for Brad and Kendall, who I know very well. I'm honored to be in with Brad Zepenis, who I watched grow up, and I've seen him become a young man. To be included with people like this, and the Rick Shrigley's and the Garekises, and the Dyers, and so many people that I can't even comment on. But I have great humility in being in this group. I'm proud of it. I hope that all the people that supported me are proud of it. And I can't tell you that this would not have happened without my teammates.
Spoken like the true, humble individual you are, and I will say this and say it sincerely, you certainly belong, and you certainly belong with this group of outstanding athletes and coaches and contributors, and to be inducted on 2 levels, well, that just speaks to who you are, who you were as an athlete, and more importantly, who you are as a person, and just such a great contributor in the community. And thank you for all you do for Nashua and Nashua Athletics. And I want to congratulate you again, Farley Gates, on your induction, class of 2020, Nashua Athletics Hall of Fame. It's been an absolute joy to speak with you. Thanks for your time. Stay safe and be well. Thank you very much, Farley.
Thank you, Nate. I appreciate your time and appreciate you.
All right, take care.
Thank you.
My name is Jason Roby, and I am joined by greatness here this morning. I have to tell you that one of my favorite all-time people is Amy Rustin. Being inducted into this Nashua Athletics Hall of Fame, what does it mean to you?
Well, I've been through a lot of ups and downs. Obviously, life can throw you some curveballs, but just kind of sometimes you can feel like you lose yourself here and there. I do. I definitely have been on a roller coaster of events, especially in these past few years. Just kind of meeting my husband, and some of the things that he's been through in his life have brought me to some places that I never really thought I'd be, but we just keep going better and better. But just kind of NTC reaching out to me saying I wanted to, involve you in this, and I actually won and got to be part of it. I don't know, it really just inspired me to kind of reach in and figure out who I was again, kind of, and I don't know, it means a lot. It really does.
Are your family members, Amy, are they aware of just how good you were or how great you were?
I don't know. I mean, my husband, he hears stories and he's proud of me and stuff, but I don't know if he's really, I guess now from hearing with this kind of thing, I guess he saw a while ago on the news, they had said something about the Exeter girl who had beat my 18-year record for that 3,000 meters, and it kind of was like a clip or whatever on something that they saw, and he told his friends, that's my wife, she was going to go to the Olympics and this and that, so it just kind of, I don't know, it kind of brings back a little spirit in me, I guess.
Is there a particular moment, a team, or an accomplishment that you remember that really sticks in your brain? I mean, you've been in a lot of great races, you've been in a lot of good teams. Is there one particular moment that you remember that really kind of makes you smile when you think about it?
Well, let's see, team. I love my Nashua High team. I love my girls. That was the origin of everything, and being part of a team that was just so spirited. We won a lot of things. It was between us and Central, and
yes.
It just I felt like our girls, we just worked together, and I don't know really how to word this. My coach had the biggest heart in the whole world. I just felt like the team that we had such a high spirit in Nashua High. I don't think I ever quite reached that type of hype. I went to Lehman, a couple of other places that were great. I had great coaching there, but the beginning of my coaching started with really NTC and that team, and you and Mo and a whole bunch of other great people that
Sure.
I love all you guys, Artie, Cobbs, man. It was just really, I had a lot of stuff going on with my family. It was like a second family, really like a home. So I don't know. I just feel like everybody had big hands and they all reached out and helped in times of my weakness or whatever, and my outside life. The team was just really kind of, it was my whole spirit. It was my whole entity. It was my everything. So I don't know, a pivotal point, one particular point. There was so many. It's just the whole thing just blends in as being really the foundation of what kind of gave me the courage and chutzpah to do anything today. I really do kind of go back to the work ethic and knowing that everything you put into it, Anne, every single day she was out there with us and doing it with us, and the girls and everybody just when you didn't feel like doing it, they'd just always be there for you. So
Manchester Central as being kind of our big rivals. There were some great battles back and forth between the two teams. Do you still feel that way today? Do you still is Central kind of the team that when you look back you think it was either green or purple?
Well, yeah, it always was. There was occasionally Concord would kind of sneak in and have a couple extra points there, but really it was kind of between Central and Nashua back then. Nowadays, I know that the high schools have kind of fragmented a little bit. There's north, south, and but I haven't been following it quite as much as I obviously like cross country. Sometimes I wish that I know Meet of Champions, and around that time is Halloween, so I'm always thinking maybe I can go to Dairyfield and catch the race or whatever. but yeah, I haven't been following exactly what's going on. I kind of look at to see who's who and what they're running, the times and stuff like that. But,
Sure.
yeah, back in the day, it was definitely always purple and green kind of, and sometimes red.
Sometimes red. Do you have any regrets or disappointments from the athletic side of things that maybe, you think about sometimes, that, geez, I wish I had done this, or I wish we had done that, or any kind of regret or disappointment?
Well, I know my senior year, I was kind of having some difficult times. Anne was, she was a huge mentor for me. I lived with her, actually. She was like almost like a mother. She was like nurturing. She really helped me along the way. And it was like, in springtime, I think I was like kind of having a hard time with my grades and stuff. It was algebra was killing me, and I had a waiver or whatever so I could compete. So I definitely wish that like I could have figured out, or maybe, I was so bad at math, I don't even know how I was going to be able to figure it out. But maybe taking a different class or something, I don't know.
Right.
But yeah, I wasn't able to compete my spring track season because of grades, that one algebra course. So I wish I kind of was able to stave that one off. But
The things that you went through in high school kind of helped you move forward, kind of helped you persevere and get to the next
Huge, yeah.
station in your life. Do you still feel that way? I mean, is that a definitive
all the
thing for
time,
you?
yeah. I mean, running is a huge parallel to like my life. Like that's one thing maybe my husband doesn't quite understand, because he said things like, well, because I do compare running to life a lot, and he's like, well, you're not quite there right now, and I don't know if you're gonna be like, but you don't understand. It's not really about the fact of winning. I know I might not go and win all these races, or because I sometimes want to train and just enter into road races and see how I can do, kind of a thing. But so obviously I can't compare, like I can't jump back into those shoes and be exactly who I was before, but just life in general, what you put into it is what you're going to get out in running. I mean, some people have more natural ability than others, but I like work my ass off. I work hard at everything I do in order to achieve good things, So for me, like work put in equals work put out, kind of a thing. And,
Right.
I do. And it is parallel. Like I know that if I'm going to half-ass something, I'm going to get that kind of result. You know what I mean?
Right.
Same thing. Running just taught me that, basically. I know I can't kid myself, That's like life in general.
Do you have pre-race rituals and things that you do? Were there pre-race rituals that you did back in high school that you still do today?
Well, yeah. I don't know. It's just, there's different, I remember I used to run this little thing. It was like jog, stride, accelerate, sprint. And
Yeah.
it was like a warm-up technique that kind of tricks your heart and helps you kind of recover or whatever. And it almost kind of helps you just do like a 1 mile before you start your race, and it definitely helps. I still do that. Like if I have a race that I'm going to do or whatever, I do that jog, stride, accelerate, sprint kind of 4 times over so I can get ready. That's, I don't know, it definitely always helped, that little routine. I remember I used to do that before, even in like indoor, when we'd go to the indoor track, I'd run outside and make sure I could find a place where I could just do that jog, stride, accelerate, sprint thing.
I know of a young lady who used to take her study halls and or her lunch breaks and maybe go out for runs during the course of the school day. Any truth to that urban legend?
Yeah, it was really funny. I used to, so I had a lot of friends who would be like out on the bridge or whatever, and they'd be cutting class or smoking cigarettes or whatever, And so I'd have study hall. I'd love to put like my study hall and lunch block together, because it was like both 50 minutes or something like that. So it was a good amount of time. And there was this run called Nartoff out in Hollis where you'd cut up between the apple orchards and run up into Hollis and run down. It was like something like 10 miles. And so I always wanted to, like, I remember Anne got mad because she was like, I have a certain prescription and I don't want you to overdo it. Like what you're doing is, you're going to overdo it and you're going to end up hurting you, and you're going to peak at the wrong time. You're going to get hurt. So she kind of would get like a little upset, because I would add on to, and then I'd go to practice after schools, after running 10 miles during school. But yeah. And then, so like I'd run down the bridge across the way, and I'd be, like my study hall people and gym people, they would kind of turn a blind eye. You're not supposed to like leave or whatever, but they would let me. And,
there are worse
so
things you could be doing. There are worse things.
Yeah,
worse things you could be doing, right? I mean.
Right.
Yeah.
I'd run across the bridge, and I'd have my friends or whatever. They'd be like, the cops would be out there like dragging them back up to school or whatever, and I'd be running by like cutting class kind of in a way, but not really like kind of waving by and running.
I remember.
But yeah, I did that.
Can you tell us just what Ann Sipka means to you?
Oh my God, like I don't even want to cry, but I don't know. She like really was far and above and beyond just a coach. She was like a mother to me, like a second family, really. She, like I went through a lot of hard times. My family was very like broken. We had a lot of issues and stuff, and so she, I was kind of like fed up with everything at home. So she actually reached in and offered me like a place where I could kind of focus on my school and focus on being an athlete without the distractions of like the things that were happening at home, which were rough, you know. It was a little tough back then. So so she took me into her own home, literally. I lived with her and stayed in her daughter's room, and she like, Aunt Tracy Sipka was her daughter, and she like had all these really nice clothes, and she let me wear all her daughter's clothes and just live with them. Just, I don't know, she was just amazing. Like, she was like my mother. I love the woman. Yeah.
If you could go back in time and give one piece of advice to the high school Amy Rustin, what would you tell her? What would you say to her?
Stick through everything to the end. Don't give up anywhere in between. Make sure you follow through to the end, and you'll never have regrets.
That's well
Stick
said.
through it.
Yeah, well said. And along those lines, Amy, do you have any messages that you'd want to share with today's student athlete? And then maybe, in addition to the student athlete, today's parent of the student athlete?
The student athlete. Well, I just would like to say that the world is your oyster right now. Absolutely. Take everything seriously right now, because I know every day might seem like it's being force fed to you, because, you know, every day you have to go to school, you have certain things that you have to do, but life gets so much more broad and there becomes so many more dynamics that what you have going on right now, just make sure that you take it seriously, and because it's the foundation of what's going to happen to you in the future. So it really is a stepping stone, and just do the best you can and really take yourself seriously. Don't let things slide. Don't let things go, because time goes by really, really fast. Yeah.
How about a message to your fellow inductees? I don't know if you've had a chance to look the list over, if you knew anyone besides Laura on the list that maybe you were familiar with, or.
Yeah, I remember Cole Ai and her. I don't really know any of the others really, but Cole and Laura have done amazing things and amazing feats. I'm really, really proud to be on the stage with you guys. Like, honest to God, I'm very proud of what you guys have been able to accomplish in this world. It's a tough place to be, and God bless you all.
Amy, thank you for joining us.
Today I have the privilege of speaking with the children of 2020 inductee Mark Russell. So with me today we have Mark, Matt, and Jenny, children of Mark Russell, our inductee. Thank you very much for joining us. So if you can think back to this discussions you've had with your father, what was your father's favorite moment as a high school athlete?
As you can imagine, we really don't have much insight at all directly from him into these questions or responses.
Sure.
He passed away a little over 30 years ago.
And my condolences.
And really the only question I could answer that well regarding what he was really proud of was the Buddy Harvey Award. It was, so the background there, Buzz Harvey, who I'm sure you and most people are familiar with, longtime coach and athletic director at Nashua High. His son, who was, I think, I don't know, maybe 7, 8, 9, 10 years older than Mark, he passed away, I think not too long before our father graduated, probably within 5 years. And they started this award in 1963 for the football season. I think it lasted, maybe 15 years, about. So he was really proud of that individual award, mostly because of the great respect he had for Buzz Harvey, but also, he did know Buddy Harvey a bit, not all that well, but did know him a bit. But he had a pretty sizable trophy case, and I remember many times him mentioning how much that individual award meant to him, being in the memory of someone else.
Dick Dyer, a former teammate, famously in his induction, he honored your father and accepted the award in memory of your father, which I think speaks volumes to, A, the quality of character of Mr. Dyer, whom I know pretty well. He's a fantastic individual. But for someone to receive an honor such as this, to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, and to honor a friend and teammate, that to me says your father had to be an amazing individual, if nothing else, a fantastic teammate.
Luckily, our grandfather, I think he must have spent like half his salary getting every newspaper imaginable when Mark was in season. I mean, we've got a ton of newspaper clips from back then, but that, that was the process, because we just don't have the insight back then, really.
Sure.
Other than speaking to someone like Dick, and, I remember having a conversation with Matt at the time saying, it's too bad we couldn't have the firsthand experience asking Mark about it, but, it was really the next best thing, because Dick just had tremendous insight, and, luckily his memory is sharp as can be. He remembers every random detail you can imagine.
You had mentioned that the Buddy Harvey Award was one of his most memorable and proudest moments. Was there another individual award or accolade, or even a team accolade that really stood out to him?
So, he did win the outstanding athlete that year for the school. But it seemed, I recall, from him saying directly how the Buddy Harvey Award definitely trumped that in his eyes. So I think favorite moments or memorable moments from high school, they won the state championship for the relay team in track, him being, one of the members all season. That would certainly be one. So Dick brought up a few memories. One, he said just generally the camaraderie they had on that football team was just tremendous. I think a direct quote from him was, it's tough to put into words how special that was, that team. And he said he's heard that echoed from a bunch of other teammates about how great it was.
Did you ever get a sense that he ever had any regrets or disappointments that he wished he could have replayed a certain play, a certain game?
Yeah, so this is one that I, kind of took a stab at in my head, and Dick confirmed. So two things jumped out. One, for their winter track team, it would have been an undefeated season for the relay team, for their particular group he competed in. But they had a single loss from a dropped handoff with the baton.
Oh.
So, that's one item. The other, so they had a great senior season. They started the year 6-0, and Buzz Harvey used to play the best teams around. He would travel through Mass, facing the best teams, Everett, Peabody, Lowell. And they had, it was a huge build-up to the 7th game. They played Manchester Memorial, who was also undefeated.
Okay.
And ended up losing the game. From judging from the headlines and what Buzz said, Mark had a great game, but ended up losing. And with that, they lost a chance to go compete in a bowl game in Florida.
Oh,
So at the time, the best team, or one team from Massachusetts or New Hampshire, best team, would go down to Florida to play their state championship team. I believe that's what it was. But with that, they were out of contention for the bowl game. It's a really tough loss.
we know high school sports leave an impact, and clearly so much so on your father.
Yeah, I mean, I think the obvious start is, paid for his college education.
Yes, can't ask for much more than that, right?
Yeah, and I saw this elsewhere heard from others too. It seems like Buzz Harvey's real his number one goal was to get his players into college, hopefully in a scholarship, and a ton of them did. So Buzz had a hand in Mark going to UMass. Him and Dick both had plenty of offers for scholarships. Dick told me how Buzz specifically, I guess he would start early. Him and Tony Randos would start talking about college with players early. Like Dick said, before I was ever even thinking about college, they were bringing it up to me and asking me what my plans were. So I'm sure it got the ball rolling. Dick said he got specific advice from Buzz and Tony saying, look, you can go play big-time college football somewhere else in the country, but if you eventually want to settle into this area, it's helpful to have all these teammates and business connections somewhat locally. It's like if you go to UMass, you're gonna have a big, essentially Rolodex or connection, business contacts built in. So I think that's the obvious start is it paid for his education, steered him a little bit in college, probably maybe in his major also, I'm not sure there. For athletics, Dick said the first practice freshman year, it was really apparent to him and Mark how much better prepared they were compared to everyone else.
Just as we're talking about the scholarship and, that Nashua High School kind of paved the way for him to have, full boat scholarship at UMass Amherst, which is remarkable. But I can really appreciate the fact that, we had heard from some of our father's friends that talked about, I think it would have been probably his freshman year at UMass, that there may have been a little bit of pressure from some of the coaches there to kind of take, I don't know, but like the easy, ballroom dancing classes or the easiest type of classes that, wouldn't interfere with his commitment to football or anything like that. But our father felt, very committed to the business degree that he was seeking, and that he didn't want to shortchange himself, and take some unrelated type of courses that weren't going to really prepare him for the future. When I heard that, it's commendable, and I'm sure that that's probably a lot to do with some of the influence and the guidance that would have been provided to Mark and some of the other guys through the coaches that, like Mark had said, started talking about preparing them for college discussions at a pretty young age.
And thank you again for speaking with me, ladies and gentlemen, and speaking with the children of Class of 2020 Nashua Athletics Hall of Fame inductee Mark Russell. It was a pleasure. Best wishes to you and your families, and one more time, congratulations to all of you. Thank you very much.
I am joined here today by Kendall Reyes, a Nashua North grad of 2007, but boy, what an outstanding student athlete he was during his time at Nashua High School North. Kendall, first of all, I want to congratulate you on being nominated and then receiving the award of becoming inducted into the Nashua Hall of Fame.
Yeah, it's a complete honor, and it's good to be back here with you, Coach Roby. So no, I'm definitely excited to, join everybody else that, that's been part of such a wonderful class, and, so many big names, and, even people that I looked up to, as growing up in Nashua. So it's a complete honor just to be here.
When you found out you were being inducted, what was your first reaction? What does it mean to you to be a part of this Nashua Athletics Hall of Fame?
I mean, it's a complete honor, really. And, the cool thing about it is, it's the other inductees. It's, Schroeder, John Schroeder, and Brad Tepenis, and Trevor Knight, and Cole, and Laura Garrett. Like, these are, people that I literally went to high school with, or I saw them, or looked up to, and these guys were absolutely incredible. Like, I remember when I was younger, going to the games at Holman Stadium, watching, the football team. I was like, in my mind, that was an NFL football team. Like, everyone was so big, and I was just like, that was kind of really what, inspired me to play. And, and Laura Garrett, she grew up in my neighborhood, and John Schroeder, it's, people that, were so close, and see how much success that they had. I mean, you're talking about professional athletes, Olympians, top-notch college athletes, and they were all incredible in high school too, and still some record holders, and it's just really it's an honor to be considered in that class with with those guys. I mean, so it's really cool. It's really special to me.
Is there somebody, another player maybe that you admired, that you kind of modeled your game after, to maybe in high school, an older kid like a Cole?
I mean, I was definitely always inspired by, the thing that was cool growing up, in Nashua High. And in Nashua, they used to allow, they'd have buses from the middle schools to bus to Nashua South, or Nashua High at the time. And so being in 7th and 8th grade, trying to bench press 95 pounds, you'd be in there with the whole football team,
right?
And they got the hack squad, and these guys throwing on all this weight. So really seeing that was a huge inspiration.
Yeah.
But as I talked about many times, my biggest inspiration was my older brother. Seeing he has a work ethic, especially that's unmatched. I mean, he probably still does sprints. He still squats. That's just in his nature. And really, it was him kind of being at home, checking me all the time. He was like,
yeah.
He'd be the one who'd be like, Kendall, you're better than that, or Kendall, you could do more, or us doing sprints, in our street, and doing push-ups and all this. It was me and my brother. My brother is the one who got me from being talented to being a talented person that works hard. And so it was really him that pushed me to maximize my potential. Of course, coach, all my great coaches and everyone else around me, but really just having my brother be there with me, that he's definitely probably the most influential person to really, to get me going.
So looking back, Kendall, is there a moment or a team or a time in high school that you think back to and you look at and as an enjoyable moment athletically for you?
Oh man, I mean my junior year,
yeah,
in everything, that entire year, from football to basketball, track, that year was so much fun.
Yeah.
In everything. So really that team, there was a lot of good seniors that year. Obviously, you're my coach. You know this, but for everybody else, the Ryan Hayfords, Hooters, Mulcahy, obviously my brother. I mean, Eric. I'm still best friends with all these guys, and it's that year is what bonded us for life.
Yeah,
it was really my junior year. A lot of those guys senior year, and Lucky, and even guys that are a little bit younger than me, John Leon, that team. I still think to this day, because we lost on the 3-way tie to make the playoffs.
That's right.
Were at that time, if we went to playoffs, we were taking it, just because the way we were rolling.
Yeah.
Towards the end, no one wanted to play us.
Now that I've asked you that, how about on the other side of things? Any regrets or disappointments that you might have during that your high school career?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure. I mean, like some things you got to learn the hard way, and yeah, I mean, a lot of it was like I always had a talent, and I wish I kind of bought into some things earlier in my high school career, but definitely you staying on me and my brother and a few other people, I felt like I got it towards especially my junior and senior year, but I mean my sophomore year I was a knucklehead. I mean I get it. But yeah, I mean just really I always had a love, a passion for sports, but taking it as serious as I did, probably wish I did that a little bit earlier. And same thing with my grades, like my junior, senior years when I really picked it up, but I really should have been doing that my sophomore year too. So yeah, I would say that would probably be the biggest regret.
So that's going to set us up for our next two questions. Actually, if you could go back in time and travel back and visit the high school Kendall Reyes, what advice would you give to yourself, moving forward?
Going all in, on and off the field, with my grades especially. I consider myself a pretty smart kid. I just, I was floating. I was going through the motions, especially really my sophomore year. So as things kind of started to heat up for me, and I realized the potential I had in front of me, that's when I kind of took everything more serious. So really just, I wish I just did that earlier and, was able to kind of hone in on that. But I mean, no one's perfect. Sometimes you got to go down a path to learn, and I definitely did. And I was able to, get my grades up, and obviously, able to, get a scholarship and, further my career from there.
Do you have along those lines? Is there something you would tell today's student athlete, one, and two, what would you tell today's student athletes' parents?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things I would say, but especially, I feel like a lot of people, when it comes to the grades, they feel like, oh no, I have time to pick it up, and it's really some of those C's that I got early on. I think I even got 1 D in 9th grade, but we don't have to talk about that. Those hurt me. It took a long time for me to recover. I mean, I made honor roll my entire junior and senior year, but some of those just bad grades really affected me for a long time, and it took me, even though it might have been 1 or 2 classes, it really affected my GPA for a long time. And for the athletics part, for you to even have a chance, at playing or anything, especially, some people are thinking college way ahead. I mean, you got to set yourself up, from the beginning, and you want to afford yourself every opportunity, and grades is a huge part of that. So you don't want to be in a position to where you might not be eligible, or only certain schools could take a look at you because your grades only are in a certain range. I mean, the grades, really should be, that's the priority. Playing sports is, that's the added benefit, but really if the grades is everything, because unfortunately people get hurt. I've seen all through my whole career. Yeah. In high school, people get hurt, college, the NFL, even myself. And, you always have to have the education to fall back on. Right. So that's definitely important, and and have fun with it. That's the biggest thing. Sometimes, people put too much pressure on yourself. With sports, it's have fun. Find a crew of guys who want to work, or girls that want to work as hard as you. And that was probably the biggest thing that helped me is I had people around me that we all share the same goals. Sometimes it's tough when you might be the only one who might have a certain goal, but surround yourself with the right people, and collectively, you can set yourself up for success.
Kendall, is there a message you'd like to give to your fellow inductees? We touched briefly on it, and you mentioned some of the names, but it's been 20 years since the last Nashua High Athletics Hall of Fame ceremony, and here we are You're the 2020 class. We're celebrating it in 2021 because of COVID issues, but is there a message you'd like to send out to your fellow inductees?
Yeah, I just want to say congratulations on being such an inspiration to so many other people, including myself. As I mentioned, I looked up to a lot of the people that are inducted, or I played with, or I was even able to follow their careers, and it's really an honor just to be in the same, I guess, room with you guys. And I know we'll all get together soon, and it's and I love sharing the stories, because the stories is what it's what it's all about. And especially everyone went down their own paths, and just to really share those experiences, and and that we're all from the this small town in New Hampshire, and that no matter where you come from, you put in the right work, you surround yourself with the right people, you could have success. And and everyone that's been inducted, it didn't matter to them where they're from. They knew what they wanted to do. They went out and they did it. And I definitely admire everyone in this class for having that mentality.
We want to thank Kendall Reyes for joining us here today, a inductee into the 2020 Nashua Athletics Hall of Fame. Kendall, thank you for taking time out of your day. Once again, congratulations, and it's great seeing you, my friend.
Hey, Coach, I appreciate you, and I'm glad you're here to do this interview. This was really awesome, so thank you.
Hello, everyone. Today, I have the honor of speaking with 2020 Hall of Fame inductee, Trevor Knight. Trevor, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing very well. Thank you very much for doing this. I'm very excited. As I told you, can't wait for this conversation. I've been looking forward to it. Looking back on your career, is there a moment, either team or individual, that you're most proud of?
As a team, I'd say we went to the playoffs every year in every sport, and I think that's definitely something to be proud of. I'm not proud of the fact that we never won a championship. Went to the semis, I think, 3, maybe 4 times in football and basketball. So I wish we could have closed one out, but I think that's a great team accomplishment that we had. And another thing, we only lost to North one time when I was there as well in anything, or I guess track we lost to them, but in football and basketball, we took care of our rivals.
All right.
Bishop here, well, so.
And certainly you had a big part of that.
I think that's something to definitely be proud of.
In terms of high school athletics, or I know you had the injury senior year of college, but were there any regrets or disappointments along the way that you'd like to speak to?
I think just not winning a state championship is the only disappointment or regret I have. Just coming up short, because I know it would have meant a lot for the school and
Sure.
all of the teammates and the coaches. I wish we could have won out of there with a ring, but it all happens for a reason. We all learned a lot of lessons through our losses, so maybe it was a good thing, but would have liked to get at least one.
And I understand that, and certainly through no fault of you and your effort, because I know you put everything into it. And so you made a good point there. You mentioned the lessons we learn from losing or not winning a championship. Can you speak to how that maybe helped in college, or even now that you're out of college and you have your own QB academy? Do you think the fact that you never had that chance to win a championship, what lesson would you say you learned or resonated with you most?
That a lot of it is the little details. Maybe it's not watching enough film on one certain guy. It really, because when we'd lose in the football, I'd probably watch the game film about 100 times at least before the next time I played. So I just see the little details, and in college I definitely did that probably even more because I didn't have any basketball or track to focus on. It was all football. So
How would you say they set you up or prepared you for the success you had in college, and even now that you're post-college and what you're doing with the TK-QB Academy?
something my dad would always say to me is just keep working and the rest will take care of itself. And that kind of really stuck with me, and sticks with you in starting a business, because maybe you start a business and you want to be, killing it in business, and it's going to take some time, but you just got to work hard, keep your head down, and keep working and let the rest take care of itself. And that really stuck with me in college as well, because you go from being a great player in high school, and then you go to college and everyone was a great player in high school, and
Right.
You start back at square one. You got to just keep your head down, keep working, worry about what you can control, and let the rest take care of itself. And that, without a doubt, it helped me a ton. That definitely stuck with me.
Speak to that experience of playing football for your dad, and what an experience that was for you.
It was a great experience, and it's kind of crazy because you'd think that we'd go home and we'd be talking about it the whole time, because you think that he would be initiating all the conversations about it, when really I loved the game of football just as much as he did. So it would just be natural for us to just constantly be talking about it. So he was in with recruiting, he helped him with everything. So I'll give a ton of credit to him, but I really had a huge support staff that I definitely would not be where I am, where I got without them. So
If you had a message, and I know you work with a lot of high school athletes because of TK-QB Academy, if you had a message to give to high school athletes, what would that be?
I just try to get them to live in the now, live in the moment, be where you are now, with all the social media and the phones and everything. Everyone's worried about what everyone else is doing, and a big message is control what you can control, worry about now, and then after this, worry about the next thing you have. Don't worry about too much. There's so many things going on in these kids' minds today. And as far as teaching the football guy stuff, it's really just that next snap mentality. And basically what that is as soon as the play is over, we don't care about anything else in the world other than the next snap, because that's the only thing that matters. And I think you can kind of carry that over in your life as well. Obviously, you want to be thinking about your future, but I think just living in the now is really important.
Because you were such a hard worker, you put so much time and effort into becoming the best quarterback you could, or best athlete you could. Working with kids now, do you see that kids work as hard, put as much time and effort in as you did? And I know you set the bar exceedingly high.
It's kind of crazy. Some kids I see work, do even more than I used to do. I used to just lift like crazy. And,
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
Would run, would do conditioning and stuff. But, I got a lot of the kids I'm coaching and mentoring now, they're lifting, doing conditioning, and then coming out and working skills, throwing, and some of those guys are doing it almost every day of the week. Not a bunch of them, but there's probably 3 guys that I closely work with that are doing that, lifting, conditioning, and then going out throwing. And then one kid was lifting, conditioning, going out and throwing, and then playing his basketball season. So
that says a lot. It says a lot.
Yeah, some of these kids are impressive. But I think letting them know that's what it's, depending on how successful you want to be, that's what it's going to take, because if you're not doing it, somebody else is.
I'll ask just one more question of you, and I've been waiting for this one. I look forward to your answer. What does it mean to you to be an inductee of the 2020 Nashua Athletics Hall of Fame?
It means everything, really. From when I was a baby, I was coming to the Nashua High School, events, football games, and everything. And a lot of people don't know, but I've never even lived in Nashua. I live in Amherst and wasn't supposed to go to Nashua, but it was always my dream, to go play for my dad and play for the, be a Purple Panther. So, being able to fulfill that dream was amazing in itself, and I never would have imagined that, I'd be considered, one of a Hall of Famer, and, with some great names that are on the inductee list. A lot of people I used to look up to. So it really means everything. It's everything I ever could have imagined. Just wish we had a state championship.
Gotcha. You know what? It was such a great answer coming from a guy who always was team first. So thank you very much. And once again, Trevor, congratulations. This is an honor that was well-deserved. And the rules, the stipulation is you have to be 5 years removed from graduation from high school. So you're still very young. I don't know, we mentioned class of 2014, so people might not realize to be inducted into the Hall of Fame while still pretty much just out of college, that in and of itself is an impressive feat. But because of all your accomplishments and all you did, you earned it, well-deserved. Congratulations again. Thanks so much for talking with me today. I enjoyed it, talking about dogs coming to practice and everything else going on. So I really appreciate it. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, Trevor Knight, Nashua South class of 2014 and a 2020 inductee, the Nashua Athletics Hall of Fame. Congratulations again, Trevor. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Take care, stay safe, be well.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the induction ceremony of the 2020 Nashua Athletics Hall of Fame. Jason Roby here with you doing interviews, and I have the great pleasure of talking to Cole IE. Cole, of course, a member of the class of 1997, Nashua High School. Cole, welcome. Great to see you. Happy to have you here, and congratulations.
Thanks. Great to see you, Coach. This is great. It's a great opportunity. I appreciate you having me on. It's exciting.
It's great to be seen. So first and foremost, thank you for that. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, what you're doing now, your family, how things are going, what you're doing professionally?
Wow. Well, I feel like I should be doing a lot more after that great introduction you gave me. Apparently, I accomplished quite a few things.
It's all true, too, apparently. I mean,
yeah, it is, mostly, right? No.
Okay.
No, I did not edit that at all. So what am I doing professionally? So I lived across the country. I moved back to Nashua. It was kind of funny. I came back to Hudson immediately, and then found a place in Nashua with my family. I've got two girls. I got a living girlfriend, and her daughter live with me. It's great. I actually live not too far from my bus route where I grew up. It's kind of strange. When I was looking at houses, I'm like, how did I end up we're almost right here? Yeah, full circle. Came right back. And things are going great. I'm a medical device rep for Stryker Spine. Been doing that for 14 years. It's a really cool job, really challenging. I get to see a lot of cool things. I never thought I'd be in the OR staring at spine surgery and people's, brains and spinal cords, and helping the surgeons get through the cases, and instructing the staff on how to use the equipment. It's really challenging, but it's a lot of fun.
So Cole, what does being inducted into the Nashua Athletics Hall of Fame mean to you?
It means a lot, and it's hitting me now, especially when I'm speaking with you. I mean, you were my coach. I mean, I think it was your first year was my seat. Yeah. It was my year, and you never think when you're a kid, you just want to go out there and have a good game and have fun and play well, and you don't look to the future. You don't look, maybe I'll be in the Hall of Fame one day. Maybe I'll do this. Maybe you just kind of go out there and play, and it's really, you're talking about full circle. It's really rewarding. It's really exciting. And I gotta, you gotta thank people like you, the coaches, the staff, the your teammates. I mean, not to get too hokey, but it's true. I mean, kids don't do this alone. Right. They get out there and they do their best, and they're not going to get very far without a lot of support. And I got a lot of support from everybody.
Is there a time in your career at Nashua High School, a game or a moment that you were most proud of when you were competing, whether it was track or football or?
I can tell you was not the most proud of when I threw the javelin for the first time and I hit myself in the back of the head because the thing's long and you twist your wrist, smash it up. I turn around, who hit me? I was so mad. Then I realized I did it to myself.
Don't do that.
Yeah, don't twist your wrist. It's not a football. I think what really stands out. Looking back, what stands out. There was a game. It was just before you got there. It was a game against Pinkerton. And I think it was the first time we beat them. And, they were driving down the field. First time we beat them like in 8 years. And they were driving down the field. And I was just starting to get my feet under me. And, I didn't play varsity as a sophomore. So I was just starting to get my feet under me. And, they were driving the ball and I intercepted it and ran it in as time ran out for a touchdown. And, that was it. And the whole, on the highlight film, the whole student's body, rushes the field. And it was it's really cool. I'm out of breath. Everyone's jumping on me. It was like a movie situation. That was surreal. That was fun.
How about aside from the javelin?
Sure.
regrets or disappointments in your time at high school? And keeping in mind that obviously we know that you're not always going to win, and certainly there are things that are going to go wrong, but that really kind of makes you who you are down the road, and they serve a purpose. But maybe one of those negative moments for you. Yeah.
So, the negative. I put a lot of pressure on myself as a kid, and I wish I would relax a little bit. I had fun. But I wish you sit back and you enjoy it a little bit more. You really should try and find a way to enjoy it a little bit more. And not that it wasn't fun and I had a great time, but you look back and you kind of got the whole world's in front of you. Just go out there and have fun. That we lost the state championship. That really hurt me. I'm not kidding. I got mad at my parents. We lost to Londonderry. There was, I think, a Lindt chocolate store in Londonderry, and my parents brought home some chocolates, and I saw it was from Londonderry, and I was furious at them. I mean, just complete nonsense. How dare you shop in Londonderry? They're the enemy. It's ridiculous stuff. That's being a silly kid, but.
Did you eat the chocolates first?
I probably ate the chocolate. I probably ate the chocolate. I mean, let's be honest.
Sure.
It's chocolate.
Right.
I probably ate it.
Right.
But I have a lot of regrets. I had a great time. Yeah. I had a great time. Not a ton of regrets.
Is there a player or an athlete during your time that you really admired or looked up to, maybe when you were a younger freshman or sophomore, as an upperclassman, someone that you maybe modeled your game after or wanted to be like that person?
Anybody who was on the field. No, seriously.
No, I get that.
When you're young, when you're a freshman, and especially because at that time freshmen were at Elm Street, so we were segregated from those guys. And then when you get to a sophomore, those guys are gods, like Rafael Diaz and Erickson and Peterson. There's so many. They were gods. 3 or 4 years in high school makes a big difference in your body and your attitude about things, and just held them into such high esteem. And you see them hit somebody, like, oh my gosh, I hope Raphael never hits me. So yeah, there are definitely guys out there that you didn't want to go against, but there's guys you really wanted to beat.
So wherever in terms of your work ethic and your drive, you don't get to where you are without having those things. But where did that come from? Where did that develop? What were the intrinsic things or the external factors that kind of made you be that way?
Some of it's internal, but a lot of it is learned. And I could say, number one, my father. Yeah. He came from Nigeria. I mean, he tells me the stories and it's not like, and he came from Nigeria in the 70s, 60s and 70s.
Okay.
Came from a very rural, I wouldn't say, it's poor, but we'd call it poor, but it was just rural. It's, and to get to where he was from, the farm, the bush, we called it, and he got to University of Michigan. From there, it's an unbelievable story. And he got there through education. And I understood, he let me know that hard work is how you get there. You don't get there, but just, you don't move on by just staying still. And, I'd see him come home. He was a network engineer. He'd come home and doing work at like 2:30 in the morning, just 4:30 in the morning, just typing and working all the time. In a way that it was really inspiring to me. A lot of American kids, we take that stuff for granted. And,
Right.
I tried not to. And then Coach Hardy, I was just terrified of him. So
Me too.
I didn't want to. No, you just didn't want to let that guy down. I remember. I can tell you a quick story about working hard. We were doing those Jonesies at after practice on those camp days, and I had asthma, and it was a particularly bad day with pollen. And I remember just running, and I couldn't get up off the field. Like I was on my hands and knees. I'm like, I don't know if I can do this. Like I might quit. Everyone had left, and I'm like, I don't know if I can do this. I think I was a sophomore. And it's one point you just go like, all right, get up and just go back to practice. But I was really having that conversation with myself. That's how hard it was. That's how hard I was working. That's how hard it was for me.
If you could go back to that young Cole that was down on the ground gasping for air, and you could give him any piece of advice, what would you say to him?
Get up now.
Yeah.
No, there's no advice. You need to go through that stuff. You need to understand that sometimes things are hard.
Right.
You need to understand that, and you'll get through it. You need to understand that things aren't always going to go your way, and it's okay that it's hard.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Do you think, did your high school experiences prepare you for college? And then as it went along, prepare you for life as a professional?
I wouldn't. I think, yeah, in certain ways. My high school experiences, see, it's funny. Nashua High was a big, big school.
Yeah.
And you could get lost, even, captain of the football team, captain of this. We don't have homecoming dances. We didn't have homecoming king. It wasn't that. I talked to other people, and they would go to there was schools, and they were king of the school and walk around, and that was their high school experience. Nashua High was so big. You might be king of the locker room or king of I don't know that you're really king of in high school, but you might get that feeling. But it was. You didn't necessarily have to. I liked it because you didn't feel that special. You didn't get that crazy sense of entitlement that some I saw from some people, and I think that helped keep me grounded.
Sure.
Not that we didn't have fun, and not that success wasn't celebrated in our own way. It just wasn't a big, just because you're walking around town and everyone knows your name. It wasn't like that.
Right.
Which I thought was beneficial.
Is there a message? So is there a message you would you'd like to deliver to maybe the student athletes of today? And I'm going to create another part of that question. Is there a message you'd like to give to the parents of those student athletes of today?
A message. Listen, I'm not going to, it's a different time. I'm not going to try and judge them. I don't want to come to cop off as preachy, but I know it worked then, and it might work now, and some things probably do hold. You got to work hard. You can't be afraid of failing. Failing's fine. And you can't always be there to pick them up. Sometimes they gotta find that time when they're doing those Jonesies, and they gotta stand up on their own.
Right.
And you gotta allow for that. And I kind of teach that I try to teach that with my kids. It's hard. It's hard with your kids. You want the best for them. You want things to go well.
Yeah.
You want things to be easier for them. But there's a lesson in some of those failures, and lessen some of those in the hard work. Mm-hmm.
What was it like when you heard from the Rams? What was it like during the draft? Because you'd garnered all these postseason awards and all of these accolades at the college level, and not to get drafted. What was that like? And then how did it go about that the Rams contacted you?
That was a challenging day. That was it was a second day draft. The draft was only 2 days back then. Going into that year, I was projected, I think number 10, or it was between not 10, 12 to 17, depending on the draft board that you looked at. And I hurt myself in preseason, and I didn't have the greatest year. I had to have off-season surgery. I missed the combine. I missed the Shrine Bowl, the East-West Shrine East-West Shrine Bowl. So I missed all this, and I didn't have the greatest pro day, but I still had a lot of good film. I thought I was going to be okay. And draft day comes, my mom comes over, my friends are over, my dad's there. She cooked ribs, we're eating ribs, we're enjoying this thing, and you know, 5th round's coming, okay, 6th round's coming, okay. Middle of the 6th round, I get a call. My agent's like, hey, listen, you talk to somebody, don't take any money. Don't talk about the money. Just, get them to talk to me. And then I start getting calls, and friends are calling me, hey, did you get drafted? I'm like, stop calling. Every time you call, I think someone's calling me. I think you're a team. So I hang up the phone. And, the 7th round comes, and some teams start calling, and they say, hey, listen, it doesn't look like you're going to get taken, but we want to sign you as a free agent. And we want it. So there's a lot going on. And I'm like, okay, it doesn't look like I'm going to get signed. But you don't really want to get drafted late in the 7th round, because if you're a free agent, you can pick the team you want to go to, and you have the best opportunity and all that stuff. So a couple teams are calling me. And believe it or not, back then, there was not enough phone lines on my agent's line.
Oh, man.
None of his guys got drafted. So the free agent time, everybody's calling. He had 3 guys from UMass. None of us got drafted. And they're all calling to make deals, and the guys who on my side couldn't get through, and they thought he was making deals with somebody else for me. So by the end of the day, I didn't have a team, and I was really, really hurt. It was a hard day, and I felt like I kind of let my family and my friends down, and I was really sad and disappointed. I go to class the next day on Monday, because that was Sunday, and I'm like, I haven't gone to any job fairs. Like, I got to figure out what to do.
Sure.
I thought I was going to go to the NFL.
Right.
And I'm in class. I'm like, what am I going to do? Like, I haven't done any of this stuff. I thought I was going to. And then 3 days later, my agent called me. I was actually working out. I'm not sleeping a lot, so I can just work out, just trying to stay in shape. And I was on the track. And the UMass track at that time was right next to the water treatment plant, which isn't a great place to have a track field.
Right.
And I got the call, and I was signed. And it was just a sigh of relief. It was just a sigh of relief. So that was great. So yeah, that's how I got there. And when I got there, it's funny. Even then, I kind of felt like I didn't quite. They drafted 3 guys from Florida State who I'd watch on that. I mean, two guys from Florida State, 2 linebackers from Florida State. I'd watch on national TV, and they're chasing down Michael Vick and all that stuff. I'm like, do I belong here? Like, what am I doing? Like, I go to the back, you go there in your locker room, there's Kurt Warner, there's Marshall Falk, there's Torrey Holt, there's Isaac Bruce, there's Aeneas Williams, Hall of Famers, like all over the place. I'm like, am I here? So that was an exciting time. And I found my way onto the team. I was the only undrafted free agent to make the team. And, the rest is history.
I'm going to give you some word association. And when I give you these words, I want you to tell me the first thing that pops into your head. Could be a word,
Sure.
could be a sentence, whatever. Coach Hardy. Coach Hardy.
Hard.
Coach Billy Stumpf.
Smiling. Smiles.
Absolutely right. The Panthers.
Purple.
Winning and losing.
I heard losing, so I get anger. That's what I heard at the end.
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. Most memorable game.
Ooh. It's got to be the national championship game, UMass.
Yeah, that was impressive. Student athlete.
Challenging.
Yeah, sure. Hall of Famer.
Proud.
Absolutely. Cole, as we end this segment, will you flash the bling for us on the screen there?
Sure, I brought it out today for you guys. I brought it out. I don't wear it every day.
The Super Bowl
There you go.
ring for the
There's
Patriots.
a Super Bowl ring.
A proud
Yeah.
moment for all of us here in Nashua. I remember at the banquet, you let me wear it, and you looked down the table and you said, I can run you down if you take off. Cole, I want to thank you for joining us. It's a pleasure to get to speak with you. I'm happy to see you. It's great to see you. Congratulations on everything you've accomplished. Congratulations on the Hall of Fame, all of the accolades, but more importantly than that, you're a superhuman being. And I'm proud of everything you've accomplished and who you've become as a young man. And I'll see you at dance class, my friend.
Oh, yes, I'll see you. All right, man. I'll appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
All right. He is Cole IE. 2020 Nashua Athletics Hall of Fame inductee. Congratulations to Cole. And we'll take a break, and we'll be back after this.
Hello again, everyone. This is Nate Mazerol, and this is the 2020, class of 2020 Nashua Athletics Hall of Fame induction. And today, I have the privilege and honor of speaking with a Nashua legend, a Hall of Fame inductee as a contributor. I guess I should say, what hasn't he done in terms of Nashua youth athletics? This is Al Savage, Hall of Fame inductee. Al, how are you, sir?
Well, I'm getting old. I just turned 93, and if it wasn't for the COVID-19 problem, I'd still be involved with the youth program, but they get all canceled out.
We certainly understand you would. I know I talked about your high school experience. Growing up, tell us a little bit about your athletic career and your experience.
Well, of course, unfortunately, being born in 1928, we didn't have any youth programs at all in the city of Nashua all through the 30s. So when I was 11 years old, folks bought me a clarinet, and I kind of liked to do that. I played the clarinet, and when I got into high school, I played in Pop Wilson's high school band. And when I went up to UNH there for my freshman year, I played in a freshman band up there. Except for the football season. Back in the old days when we used to have a football game, the high school band, they used to have a parade. And I used to be, of course, I was on the football team, so I wasn't in the parade, and the band would march up there. But then as soon as the basketball season started, then they would bring the band into the gym and they'd play there. When they had baseball games, they had the band there, and I could play in there. But my actually only participation in high school was the football, which I loved. I played sandlot football, whether there was 4 guys or 6 guys, we were out in the streets or the fields. And of course, where they built the Elm Street Junior High School, which was a high school, that was my south field. That's where my backyard was. So that's what I was playing there all the time. Out there every day with activities and stuff.
Why was it so important to you to give back to your community and help the youth of Nashua have so many opportunities in terms of athletics?
Well, I was very fortunate. I had a very caring mother and father. My father had been active in the Elks for umpteen years, and I lived growing up with it. And my mother was a hairdresser by all appointments. She wouldn't go out and do it, and she said, I'm going to be home, and my children come home from school, I will be there. So I used to walk into work on Tinsley Street, right across from where I'm going to be buried, Anchor Rochette funeral place. And that's where it all began. And as they expressed to you that I wanted to give all the things that I didn't have, besides having a great mother and father who cared. I didn't have all the activities that I wanted to accept, sandlot, football, and that stuff. And that was more or less the way that I went.
Are there any moments that stand out to you, or any of your accomplishments? And I know you're not one to brag about what you've done, although you've done so much. Is there something that stands out most? Is there an event you're most proud of, or something you think of as most memorable?
Well, all I can say is I courted my wife for 5 years and then got married, and she was beside me with everything I did. I come home, I want to do this, I want to start that. She said, I'll help you, I'll help you, I'll help you. And that's where my whole life was. There's just so many different things that I became involved with whether I was starting the Boy Scouts or Cub Scouts, or being the institutional representative for that, and then, of course, going through the chairs and the Elks and all the state awards down there, and then the Lions Club. I'm a past King Lion. In fact, talking about going way back, I remember being on the roof of the Friendship Club, helping to build that way back as a member of the Lions Club back in the 50s, you know. And when I start thinking back, I got to think back a long time.
Yes, you do, sir.
But God was good to me with a wonderful wife and good friends.
The next question I would ask, you had mentioned positive, you had mentioned you coached or you played for one of our legendary coaches, Coach Harvey. Along with Coach Harvey, or beyond that, were there any other positive athletic influences in your life that helped you with your career and then motivated you to do everything you've done over the last 70 years?
Well, I have to think back of Buzz Harvey, because he used the old Notre Dame block shift. The quarterback was just a blocking man, you know, that you'd line up and you'd shift. And Buzz used to say, hey, you linemen, talking to me and the other guards and stuff, you give us 2 or 3 yards, 3 yards of play, 4 times, we got a first down, we'll keep going till we score. And that was his theory. And that's the way. So that's why I felt so important. And like you say, really, the biggest thrill was when we beat Central decisively, that 13-0, and they scored that first big touchdown right over me and the guard. Bob Gabriel was the guard, and Jesus. But that's a long time ago.
Is there something beyond your own career that you're most proud of, or is there one most memorable achievement or accomplishment that you had? And again, I don't know how you're going to choose, because the list of things you've accomplished and everything you've done is endless. But if you could choose one that you think stands out most, or is something you remember that you're proud of.
Well, being repetitious, when I say that, when I started out beginning, let's go back to Fran Tate in 1957.
Yep.
And actually, a couple of years before that, when I started the championship field games up at the stadium, and we used to have 600 or 700 kids up there, and they used to be up there on all kinds of events, and then we gave them free hot dogs and hamburgers and stuff. Because I was able to get all that stuff wholesale from the beef house, and everything was really great in doing that, and we did that for 10 years.
Is there a particular story that you remember? I know you have stories after stories after stories. Is there any story from all your years with Biddy or baseball or the decathlon that stands out to you?
You know, the biggest story that stands out in my lifetime was in 1938. And that was the year of the big hurricane that hit us. And Judge McLaughlin and I were lifelong friends, and we were playing up at the old South Ground, right in the corner of Audison Street and Elmer Street.
Yep.
And his father just started the McLaughlin Moving Company down on Audison Street. And we were out there playing out there just like you normally do every day. And suddenly he says, Al, he says, you know, it's kind of funny. I said, well, what do you mean, Ken? I said, he said, you don't see any birds. There's not a sound. And I looked up, the sky was all sky blue, drink. And then all of a sudden we heard a roar like 10 locomotives, and we were right in the high of the hurricane. And it came down, and it whipped down, the wires were snapping and hitting the sidewalk. We saw the roof on his new place for McLaughlin start to lift up there. He says, I gotta rush home and tell my mother. So I went back. I lived on Kinsley Street. I lived on the south side, fortunately. And that storm was coming up from south to north. And we used to have, Kinsley Street was lined up with big maple trees all the way up from Main Street up to the hospital. And all of a sudden, all the trees went right over, blown right over from my side to the north side. They leaned across the houses in there, and and the rooftops and the wires. And when I went out in the morning, I looked up there, it was just like a lean-to all the way up Kennedy Street and down Main Street. That stands out as something that I'll never forget.
What does it mean to you that you have been named an inductee and a member of the 2020 class of the Nashua Athletics Hall of Fame?
I would say that I have had a lot of state and city awards. My wife and I have had them. That this is a highlight.
Excellent.
That's the way I feel about it. I mean, I remember when Holman Stadium was built and I climbed over the fence to go see a football game up there. My father found out he was going to rap me. He said, "You don't skip anything. You want to go to some, I'll give you the money, but you're not going to skip over a fence."
Well, I want to congratulate you. I want to thank you for taking the time today to speak with me. This has been an absolute pleasure and joy hearing your fantastic stories and understanding all that you've done for Nashua Youth Athletics. Again, for everyone who's ever participated in all of the various leagues and clubs and groups, I want to say thank you for all of Nashua because, again, to call you a legend, that's a short change. You are beyond that. You are youth athletics in Nashua, even to this day. So congratulations on your induction. Thank you very much for speaking with us today. Again, ladies and gentlemen, had the pleasure of speaking with Al Savage, 2020, Class of 2020 Hall of Fame inductee, Nashua Athletics Hall of Fame, and certainly well-deserved. Thank you again, Al. Greatly appreciated, and best wishes.
Thank you very, very much, and I'm sure my wife has heard everything you said up from heaven.
I'm sure she is, and couldn't be more proud. And in my mind, she too is a part of the 2020 class for the Nashua Athletics Hall of Fame. So thank you. Thank you. Take care, stay safe, and best wishes, sir.
Jason Roby here with you. And our guest today is Laura Garrity. And Laura, we want to thank you so much for joining us during these strange, difficult times. Why don't you tell us, Laura, where you are now? Like when things ended with Nike, what happened with Laura? Where did she go? What did she end up doing? And what does her life look like today in 2021?
Well, so I actually stayed on and I wound up coaching throws at UNC. And it was so great to be able to stay on with the program. In that time, I met my husband and we married, and so I relocated here. It's funny, as a high schooler, I went away to school and I said, that's it. I'm never coming back. I'm going for the warm weather. You know what? I live like 2 streets over from the house I grew up in, so never say never. And I went back to school, and I'm now a physician assistant. I worked for 6 years in geriatric psychiatry, and now I'm teaching. I'm a professor in the program I graduated from.
Laura, what does being inducted into the Nashua Athletics Hall of Fame mean to you?
It's a huge honor. Having competed, I was at several levels, and in scholastic athletics, you move up through, and so you're sort of short-lived at each level, and unless somebody is really a student of the sport and kind of a history junkie, that, you pass through. And your numbers are your numbers, and they kind of go into, fade into the background. And I wasn't on the pro level that long. But my biggest hope was always that I had a difference in somebody's life some way. And to be recognized, especially this far after my career, it's such an honor to think that maybe I stayed on, that, I won't say I wrote history, but I've nudged it in some way. And it's been a pleasure to be able to look back and just reminisce in preparing for this. It's been a lot of fun, so I really appreciate that.
Laura, when you look back, is there an accomplishment for you or both as an individual and as a team that kind of sticks out in your mind from the high school standpoint? I mean, obviously competing on the biggest stage in the Olympics is its own story, but when you look at being in high school, is there a moment in time that you can kind of wrap your fingers around and say, this was the moment for me, both as an individual and as a team?
It's funny, when I look back, I don't think of the accolades. I don't think of the competitive moments. I think of the people. I think of the little stuff. That's where my heart is, and that's all the relationships and the individual moments are what I competed for. They ingrained in me why I was there. So nothing particularly athletic. A lot of individual interactions, though, that made it worthwhile.
Did you have any rivals? And now clearly, the tape measure was your biggest rival here in state, but was there a rival or somebody that you looked to that pushed you? And it could have been somebody, maybe even in practice, that kind of pushed you when you were younger.
Well, we had a great group of seniors that kind of kept us in line, and they set the expectation. And maybe they didn't go as far with their athletics, but they were the ones that set the tone and the framework. When I had a blank slate, imprinted on them. So
right.
They were my mentors of who I looked up to, really. And then it was a tight-knit community. I had several competitors that pushed me, that I had to work hard to stay ahead of. But it was great because it was friendly competition, and it was intense, but it was fun. So there was a whole group of us that came up through, definitely.
Along those lines, do you have any regrets or disappointments of things that maybe you would have liked to have accomplished, or now emphatically shaking the head, yeah, I like that?
No, I mean, I could have never made it to state, and I was lucky that I had people that valued me not for how far I threw, but because of the type of person I was, the service contribution to the sport. So every day I had an opportunity to walk away and say, I learned something, I contributed something. So I could have walked away at any point and been okay. Thanks to you guys all, I was always more than an athlete. So when my passion took me elsewhere, there was something to fade into the foreground, and it was okay for track to be packed.
Is there anyone that you particularly would like to mention in terms of someone that you really, that brought you along and kind of kept you under their wing as a teacher or a coach, someone that really kind of helped you get to where you are from the high school level?
I was really lucky that I had a group of people that I was they were interested in me as a person. I'm happy to be here today with you because you're chief among them. I mean, I remember the day that I gave up gymnastics, and it was a huge part of my life. And I loved track, and things were going well, but it was still a big change. And I remember it wasn't about, well, you're going to be a great athlete in track someday, but I remember you saying it's going to be okay. You'll see this for what it is.
Did you ever have any pre-meet rituals or things you would do either as a team or a group or just you in general that would kind of get you ready to throw or get you in the right headspace to do what you needed to do?
Something every day in practice, if I had advice for younger kids, every day in practice you do what it is you would do in a meet, so that you're not doing anything special. You just go and, my college coach used to say, the nerves are like a drug. The shot goes farther just because. But, I got there, I had my warm-up routine. I knew how far out I needed to start getting ready. And I just went through the same thing that I did in practice every time. And if I'm throwing well in practice, do what works, and it translated to the meets. So,
Laura, if you had to go back today in time and see the high school you, what would you say to her? What advice would you give her? What things would you tell her to let her know that everything's going to be okay?
I was a trainaholic, and it got me a lot of places. But I was the type that I wanted it now. And it's funny, age, you get a chance to look back and you see that everything has its time and everything has its place. And I would have said, be patient. I think I would have worked just as hard as I did, but I wouldn't have been worried about that it wasn't going to come. And you find when you have, even if you're in an individual sport, there's a team that you have your coach, you have your family, all of your supports, even the people, the kindness of strangers that come in right at that comes in right at the right moment. There's a team there. It's not you. And with time, all of that develops together, and it takes time to sort of steep and gets better with age. So I would have said, slow down, be patient, patience, grasshopper.
Would you say that your high school experiences, Laura, kind of paved the way to your collegiate experiences? I mean, were there things that prepared you for that next step that you learned in high school and in the high school experience?
I think, you know, the only thing that you are entitled to when you're recruited to the next level, you have the opportunity to continue your careers. You have the right to walk through the door, and you are torn back down to your base and brought back up again the way you need to be. And even that happened at the college level, the pro level. There's always something to learn. So you can't assume that the distance or the athletic performance was what set me up, although it brought me to the notice of the next level. And you need that. But I think it was the lessons, it was the approach by coaches, the expectation of what it is to have a professional coach-athlete relationship, and that security that I was always loved, and there was more to me than track, and that I could walk away at any minute. I mean, just to have that expectation set, it's what I looked for when I was recruited, and it's just the way I approached all of my relationships after that.
So along those veins, is there a message that you would feel is important to give today's student athletes? In addition to today's student athletes, is there another message that you might give to parents of those student athletes?
I think the best, any athlete has the opportunity, even as a high school athlete, even if you never make state, now is your chance to go pro. And I think that that involves, like I talked about, even if you're in an individual sport, it's a team. It's not about you. And I think that everything you have as an athlete, you have to be attentive to bringing everything that you learn, bring it back to the team, make sure that the team develops. It's not about you going out and looking for the next expert or the next piece of information and doing things on your own. Everything you do, bring it back, work with the whole team, be transparent, be open, be patient, mine the expertise and the abilities of what are there, what's there. And then when you can all agree together that it's time to branch out, like we did as a coach-athlete, team, then you reach out, but then you bring it back and you make everybody in that team better.
The bridge is gapped by you, Laura. You are proof that good things happen to good people. And I am so proud of the young woman you have become. You're a mom now, you're paying it forward, you've coached, you're working in a field that's helping other people. I am so proud to have been one of the people in your life on some level. And this is a very long overdue, deserving award for you, Laura Garrity. I want to thank you so much, and congratulations on your induction into the Nashua Athletics Hall of Fame.
Thank you, Roby. It's great talking with you.
We hope you have enjoyed the interviews with our most deserving, newest Hall of Fame members. Again, the full-length videos are available at the link on your screen. Once again, a special thank you to Jason Roby and Nate Mazerol for conducting the interviews. Although each interview here was only about 10 minutes, Jason and Nate each spent significant amount of time preparing and conducting the interviews. The edited versions you have just watched here were created by the students of the video productions program here in Nashua. Great job to all of the students that worked on this project. I would also like to thank our sponsors whose support has made the resurrection of the Nashua Athletics Hall of Fame possible. 98.5 The Sports Hub, Adrenaline Fundraising, Alpha Graphics, Beth and Brad Crake, Champion's Choice, Chick Bolio, Fody's Tavern, Frankiel Sikis in memory of David Mellon, Joyce Heating and Cooling, Melanson Heath and Company, Morin's Landscaping, the Nashua Lions Club, the Nashua North Athletic Boosters, the Nashua South Athletic Boosters, the Nixon Company, Performance Rehab, and once again, a shout out and thank you to Jeff, Doug, and all of the students for a fantastic job on this induction video. The next round of the Hall of Fame nominations will take place in the spring of 2022, with the 12th induction scheduled for May of 2023. Thank you all for watching, and congratulations to Al, Farley, Coley, Laura, Trevor, Kendall, Amy, John, Brad, and the DeMello and Russell families. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next time.